I've talked about movie Sentinel Prime quite a bit on this channel, and recently too. While he isn't my favorite character ever, his toys always seem to be pretty neat and interesting, which is why I keep buying them. I'm waiting for a proper MPM version of this to come out, because that would be pretty epic, either from Hashtag or from somebody else like Unique Toys. Come on. First movie trilogy figures would be nice, please. Studio Series Sentinel is a toy I wanted for ages, ever since it was announced, but it never came out in my area due to what I'm calling COVID distribution, and it was always sold out online locally, but I did want to experience the mold, so I got this, the knockoff, and to be honest, mine hasn't held up at all. Sure, some people's may be fine and some people's may not be, but that's because one of the cost-cutting measures that knockoff companies take is there's no QC checking, meaning some may be perfect at the factory and some may not be, and this one isn't. It's slowly gotten worse over time, and I've barely touched it. A die-cast tab broke off, and that was just from me picking it up. It hates staying in truck mode, that's if I can even get it there. So I was really excited to find a Studio Series one for retail price. This is a rectangle. It's just a rectangle. The vehicle is just a box. Like that's all there is nothing else really. There's not much really to say about the alt mode shape because I've already said most of what I want to say about it in the other videos, which you can go check out by the way. But the detail on it, the paint and the line work is really sharp. The white is nice and clean. I love the silver R logos. They're really cool. However, from straight on, they're not super visible, but if you turn it like the toy on an angle, in some lights, they're a little bit more visible. I find that strange. I think they're trying to mimic the whole reflective look of the actual truck's logos, but it doesn't really work the best here. I'm not the biggest fan of this gray they use for most of the toy here. It doesn't really match the red to my eyes. I wish the front was a black color like the actual truck, and I wish the top section was a tad bit lighter. It's a nice size though. It actually scales with something I have going, unlike the KO, which is just way too big for anything. That's not the knockoff's fault though. It's meant to scale with something else that I just don't have. But it's nice to have something that fits on my shelf, even though I'm not super keen on scale in general. I just don't care too often. The weapon storage is super clever, being on the sides of the alt mode. It looks really sick. Just don't lose them because they are important to the truck mode, and if you lose them, his legs are kind of exposed, so that's a bit annoying. Transformation is very clever, especially in the legs. I love how everything is self-contained in the lower legs pretty well, and it all like tidies up to result in a pretty stable base. The arms are pretty generic, but I do like the way the torso forms together. I just wish it had a more solid connection. Robot mode is pretty damn good, and I noticed something about it. Every single surface that is red is paint, even the feet. The entire toy seems to be made out of this weird gray stuff, and that helps keep the cost down because once you start adding different colored plastics, you have to make separate sprues for them, and that's other tooling blocks, and it all adds up. But like, this isn't bad. It's not bad at all because that means all the red sections are the same color. None of this mismatch red because paint versus plastic. I like that. Everything is the same color, and the paint's pretty durable. Like, it's pretty durable. I'll tackle the backpack first, because Sentinel always has one. The previous movie ones were pretty bad, causing either weight issues or just looking like an idiot. The knockoff, while it's a removable and replaceable one, the default one still looks like crap, and I don't know why they couldn't have just made this stuff tuck away a bit more if they were modifying it anyways. This one isn't bad. It gets the point across quite well and doesn't get in the way a lot. But the butt flap is weird. I thought this would have tucked away a bit more when I got it, but no, that's just part of the transformation, and that to me is a little disappointing. The rest of the toys look I like. Still not a fan of the gray, but as a whole, it looks pretty good. Definitely the best looking official Sentinel in my opinion. The toy feels very solid. All the panels tab together nicely, and all the hinges feel solid on my copy. Nothing is overly loose or overly tight. It's just a really nice package overall, and to me, a lot nicer than that fucking KO. The knockoff has a lot more paint and moving parts, but the tooling is the same on the surface. But looking at how the Studio Series is designed, it's not designed to be much bigger than this, so the big one makes the details look weird next to the original. It just looks too big to me. One thing the knockoff does better though is it has flat, stable feet. because the Studio Series is always standing at a slight angle when the feet are folded fully flat. That was too many F. Sentinel's tooling is really good, but a lot of it gets lost in that gray. Another reason why I'm not a fan of that color, like, they could have picked a slightly lighter shade of gray, because he was that color in the film. He wasn't this color, which just, it just looks weird to me, and all those details get lost. It's a shame. He comes with his sword, but that's it. I do really wish he came with either a shield or his Ironhide blaster, because the limitations in the toys posing make getting him into sword poses kind of difficult. Yeah, the posing is okay. The waist is limited. There are no ankle pivots, which the knockoff does fix. He does have wrist swivels, which is pretty nice to see, because sword wielders should have wrist swivels. But other than that, the posing is just kind of bland, and the backpack can weigh the figure down a bit when trying to make it look more dynamic, but you can flare out the two side panels of the backpack to however you want, so that's nice. One thing this toy makes me want, though, is a Leader Class Studio Series Megatron. Man, if I wasn't taking a break from buying toys right now, I would so buy that. The toy is pretty alright. Like, it's not worth the asking price of places like eBay. I mean, most of the Studio Series toys are just too expensive, like Ironhide and Prime. They are not worth their asking prices on the secondary market. But if you can find this for retail, yes, I'd say it's worth it. It doesn't feel worth more than that because it's just alright, but I'm still happy to have it. If you can get this guy for like 30 bucks, 20 bucks like I did, maybe even 40 or 50 sealed, then I would say it's worth it. If you're paying more than that, that's way too much. It's not worth the asking price. But that's been my look at Studio Series Sentinel Prime. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I will see you next time. Goodbye. I'm about to sneeze.